what would you say to somebody who says, I have no idea what my calling is?
Well, one thing that's really important is to have it come from love. And by doing, what I mean by that is, one of the sacred acts of any person's life is their ability to love and accept themselves more and more as they grow in life. In fact, you could almost say that life itself is a process of learning how to lovingly accept yourself and the world around you, and how to make a difference in that world coming from a place of love. And so one of the most important steps is to open up to loving yourself more, even loving yourself for not being able to love yourself all the time. And then out of that inquiry, to ask yourself, what do I most love to do in the world? I talk about that a lot in the Big Leap, about how to open up to what you most love to do. And it's almost like nobody ever asks us that question. I don't even remember anybody asking me anything like that. You know, I remember taking tests when I was in high school and college, you know, the aptitude tests about what I should do. I remember scoring the lowest in any of my, in the entire senior class in becoming a farmer. I was like off the scale low in that, and which was, I lived in a largely agricultural area where they grew orange groves and things like that, oranges. And,
so that wasn't impressive for the people around you, huh? What is Gay going to do with his life?
Yeah, what could he possibly do?
Yeah, right, so with a tricycle in a box.
The goal in life was to escape the swamplands of Central Florida and get away from all those alligators. But the important thing is to have it come from a place of love, because so many of us, many people that I've worked with, I was thinking of a dentist that came to me many years ago, and he was saying, you know, I'm very successful. I make my $400,000 a year. My wife loves it. My kids love it and everything like that. He said, but I feel like I'm dying inside. It's not about dentistry. It's just, you know, I feel like I'm limiting myself. Well, he discovered a poet in himself, and he started writing poems. And then he became a dentist who writes poetry, you know, and so that's a whole different thing than it is to have part of yourself that you're hiding away inside. One of our favorite quotations, which I put in the sequel to Big Leap, which is called The Joy of Genius, it says, it's from the Gospel of Thomas, and it says, if you bring forth what is within you, what is within you will save you. If you do not bring forth what is within you, what is within you will destroy you. And it's so important to know that every movement you make toward discovering your purpose is an act of liberation. It's an act of liberating your true creative spirit.
And
we
it's
just
also
looked at, sorry, I just was noting that we looked at each other and our eyes wide because we had just read that quote yesterday. Was it yesterday? And it rung so true to us because it was just hitting home about some of the pieces of our life.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. I love that kind of synchrony. It always lets me know I'm getting a little wink from the universe. And what I also want to underline in what Gay is saying is that most of us live in an adaptive world. We're trying to fit in. We're trying to get approval. We're trying to get attention, which humans need as much as food and water. And so we're looking for approval from out there. We're looking for our purpose from what is going to give me the most possibilities, what's going to get people to like me, what's considered high status, or it's going to get me a good job. But we don't learn, and we're not taught very much to look inside, like, what is it that when I'm doing this, time disappears? What do I so love to do that I get energized by doing it? What is something that's easy for me to do? Because we also have such a value on it's got to be hard work, and you know, I have to really struggle, and that makes it more worthwhile. Whereas our genius, our purpose, really only can flourish when we're in harmony with ourselves and we're living from the inside out rather than trying to constantly adjust. So we often ask people, you know, what is it when you're feeling really in harmony with life? What is it that you most love to do? And maybe something that you've always loved to do.
So, which is so perfect. You're speaking about this. This is your work, and you, in a way, we could say you're masters of this work of bringing this to light, bringing this beauty to light in each individual who you work with. So, is there a certain technique that you use yourselves or that you support others in doing that could bring this to light that you could share with us today?
Sure, like a process.
Sure, like a simple process that you could guide us through and everybody who's here today that might support them in beginning this journey and igniting this for them.
Good. Let me give you a two-step process. Neither one of them take very much time, but let's do them in the form of the first step is this moment I'm talking about of loving yourself. And let me just guide you through a moment like that for your viewers.
Great.
So starting exactly where you are, ask yourself first, is there someone in the world that I know for sure I love? So just think of someone that you absolutely know for sure that you love. So that's step one. So just bring that person to mind and think about the way you love that person. And in fact, if you can't think of a particular person, think of something you love to do. Like you might love taking a walk on a beautiful day, or you might love walking on the beach, or I know that's one of our favorites. Since we only live 11 miles from the beach, we drive down, take a nice walk on the beach. But whatever it is, think of something you love. And then love yourself just like that. Love yourself just like that. Yeah, bring that love to yourself. Open your heart to yourself so you love yourself just like you love that person. Now here's step two. Once you feel that kind of love for yourself, ask yourself, what do I most love to do? And go back as far as you want in time. Like that moment for me of commuting to my cardboard box. Obviously, there was something I loved to do about the process of helping people with their problems. And it's still just as satisfying today, 60 or 70 years later than it was when I first climbed on my tricycle. But ask yourself, what do I love to do? And then ask yourself, what is it that I most love to do that I could do all day and I would never get tired? Mm-hmm. And so once you begin to home in on that, that gives you a reference point for how to come at your purpose from a place of love.
Mm. Whew, wow.
Yes. And then what we suggest for people with those two questions is that you take 10 minutes a day. You schedule 10 minutes a day, and we recommend that it's really first thing before you get into the business of the day, that you engage with what you love to do for 10 minutes. And that's really all it takes to develop the fleshing out of that purpose in your daily choices and your actions. And it also, I find, makes everything else feel more creative. So when you let yourself practice your purpose, that gives you like a through line through the day, a reference point that you can keep coming back to. And it also puts you first rather than giving yourself attention, after you've done all of your work and the chores and the kids and all of those things. So if you put yourself first, I love me, then your love for you then radiates out through your day.
A famous yoga teacher once said that if I give myself an hour a day, I can give other people the other 23. But if I don't give myself that hour a day, then I can't give anybody anything. I think there's a lot to that. And the reason we start with 10 minutes, there was a great quotation from the French philosopher Blaise Pascal several hundred years ago. He said, all of humankind's problems come from not being able to sit in a room by ourselves for 10 minutes doing nothing.
Oh my goodness. Can you say that one more time?
Blaise Pascal, all of humankind's problems come from not being able to sit in a room by ourselves for 10 minutes doing nothing. And so we began to use that 10-minute thing. We have a whole book, in fact, called The 10-Minute Miracle. And another one called, a process called The 10-Second Miracle. a book called The 10-Second Miracle and a process called The 10-Minute Miracle. Okay. I knew I'd get it straight eventually. But the specific thing is to devote first just 10 minutes to yourself.
Yeah.
It's a courageous thing to do. You know what? I've had CEOs of major corporations sitting in this very room here in our home office who had never done that, who had never just sat there for 10 minutes and said, you know, what is my purpose in life? What is my genius? In the Big Leap, I talk a lot about opening up your zone of genius. And in the new book, I talk about the genius spiral. I don't call it a zone anymore because that's kind of limiting, but a genius spiral. It was like on our wedding day, almost 40 years ago, we were on a mountaintop by ourselves in Colorado having our own private wedding. We also had a public one with our friends and everything, but we went up on a mountaintop to deliver our vows to each other. And as we were doing that, Katie said, oh, look up. And I looked up and there's these beautiful hawks circling around in a spiral, 2 hawks circling around in a spiral above us. And they stayed there while we were saying our vows to each other. And then we looked up and they went further and further on up into the sky until they were disappeared. And that idea of a spiral really captured my mind and my heart. And so that's why the motif of the new book, The Joy of Genius, is all about the genius spiral. And the nice thing about that, it's like if you look at a hawk or a bird riding the wind currents upward and upward, they don't have to effort about it. They just find the right current and it lifts them, and then they make adjustments as they rise higher and higher. And that's really the process of discovering your genius.
Powerful.
Beautiful.
And I love what you're saying about starting the mornings with the 10 minutes, because it's almost like that becomes the current which one can ride on, kind of they're being supported in that way through the rest of the day.
Yes, that's beautiful. And I was also thinking as you were sharing that giving this 10 minutes to yourself is also a gift to your spouse, to your family, to your community, because you're full of your own loving yourself and letting that connect you in life, rather than, you know, coming at it from I'm working and I'm doing this and there's nothing ever for me. And one of the big dramas in relationship is trying to get your purpose through the other person. So trying to live through the other person, or if they approve of you or they're getting attention, it means you're not getting attention. So those dramas really can all be solved by being grounded in, this is my spiral, this is my current that I'm riding, and I bring that energy into our relating. And that's so juicy. And it also helps you to renew. So you're always discovering and learning new things, and that vitalizes the relationship over time. So things keep getting better and better.
Which we can tell between the two of you, and you radiate that. So thank you for sharing that here on the screen.
I mean, I'm like, wow, we almost need shades. It's amazing.
Well, we'll try to tone it down a little bit.
No, please.
Turn it up. We have enough toning down in the world.
Well, we haven't been able to tone it down for 40 years. So
Actually, I was just recalling, we've been kicked out of so many places because we make too much noise. So we'll hold a seminar and people are going, hey, you're just making too much noise, you're not being serious. And so we see that as a really, really good sign when there's laughter and, engagement occurring. That's what it's really all about.
Yeah, that's why your work is always selling out. Like I know that your work is sold out way in advance. Like we're looking forward to joining one of your workshops in Ojai. One question I have that's like just finally, one of the reasons we created this interview series is because we're really tired of people saying I'm too old, or I don't have enough time, or so we literally, it's uncover your calling at any age, right? Your greater purpose at any age. Is there anything any final words on that you'd like to say directly to somebody who's been tapped into that belief?
Well, one of the most wonderful couples that has ever came to us. She was 70 and he was 75. And it was so wonderful because they basically came in from all the way across the country and they said, we've been married for 50 years now, but there's always more. What more can we learn in order to have an even closer relationship. And actually, as I say that, tears are coming to my eyes because both of them have passed on now. And Jerry and Mary Kent were their names. And they made such an impact on me because I was only about, 45, I think, when I met them. And they opened up a space for me, for us to be like that when we were 75 years old. Yeah. And I'm not quite there yet, but but we're working on it. An important thing, one of the things we talk about a lot in the book you mentioned called Conscious Loving Ever After, which is our book for people at midlife and beyond, either single people or couples, is the important aspect of creativity, that it's an act both people need to ask themselves, how can I be more creative every day in myself as a gift to the relationship? Because we say that every breath you take, especially after the age of 45 or so, is a choice between stagnation and creativity. Stagnation or creativity. And if you keep breathing toward creativity all the time, what can I do today that expands my creativity? What can I do this moment that most expands my creativity? Yeah. Then you ride these waves of expanding creativity throughout your life.
That becomes your centerpiece, your focal point, so you start to draw that in more.
Wow. Yes. So if somebody's stuck on I won't find my calling, would that help them find? Is it possible to find one's calling much later?
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. So the choice is really to first love yourself, and you can love yourself for feeling stuck. I'm stuck and I don't really know what my calling is. So you can love yourself for not knowing. And it's so, because all of the discoveries happen because you get curious about something that you don't know. So actually welcoming not knowing is really part of the path. And I also like to ask people, how could I turn this into creative expression? So just this, so feeling stuck or not knowing or having something that I don't want to do. How could I, in this moment, turn that into creative expression? And so one quick way would be take a second and go, and just, let your body express so that you're not trying to just express it out through your mouth. So
10 minutes, just go in a room by yourself. If all you do during that 10 minutes to say, what is my genius? Or what is my true purpose? Don't worry about the answers. Just focus on the questions and the answers will come to you.
Yeah. Well, and I love that you're highlighting that as well, Katie. The not knowing is part of the process. So it kind of lets that part of the ego off the hook that is saying, you're supposed to know, you have to know
right now.
Right. Yeah. And pointing the finger, of course.
Right. This is very serious business.
And asking those questions that you both are speaking of is opening up that shifting the obstacle of the mind into an opportunity.
Yes, beautifully said. And there's a very simple thing that you can do with your voice and your breath, which is to create a creating a pleasant all the way through an out breath before you ask one of those questions. Because when you create a that shifts you from your critical brain into your wonder brain. Oh, wow. And sometimes, Einstein wondered about a question for what was 27 or 29 years.
27 years
before the answer came. So the act of wondering and getting curious is really at the heart of what makes creativity work, what makes relationships work, and I think what makes the world work, because discoveries come through the and then dropping in rather than trying to, beat it out of yourself. That open space of wondering can be created with that simple
That's a great one.
That is beautiful. So this is the challenge or opportunity to everyone watching. Will you with us? I love that. So that instantly drops you from the critical brain to the wonder brain, which is fantastic. We have about 1,000 more questions for you, and we are aware of your time. We just want to thank you so much for all the work you're doing, for what you're embodying, for what you have dove deep into yourselves and have for decade after decade been sharing into our world, into our local community, our global community. And we're so touched that you've taken this time. We feel
Very
this,
grateful.
this
Thank
whole
you.
series is blessed by you saying yes to this. So thank you dearly. And to everyone watching, we hope and trust that these incredible beacons of light are testaments to what's possible for you.
And they're just
For all of
scratching
us.
the surface of what they've embodied and what they've known and what they can share. So please join them. They have a gift to share. Could you tell them about the gift?
Yeah, so if you look at the link below and just click on the link below, they are offering a gift called 7 Discoveries, which is very powerful. And is there anything you want to say about the 7 Discoveries?
Well, the 7 Discoveries will give you A to Z what you need to create a thriving relationship at any time in life. And so it gives you the principle and then the practice. So there are 7 very distilled little nuggets of wisdom that you can carry around with you.
Put it on your refrigerator door and read it before you eat anything.
Yeah,
Live it every day.
Yeah, that's what I love. It's a printout, so you print it out and just glue it to yourself.
Put it on your forehead.
Yeah.
We'll each have one.
I know how to respond then in the morning. That'll help.
Thank you dearly for everything. And we're going to be doing that from here on now. It's a habit. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we will see you in the next masterclass.
Many blessings to all.